my name is Laura Blackwell and I wrote the Fisherman's Table cookbook. And today I'm going to show you how to make lobster ravioli in a saffron cream sauce. It is the kind of lobster ravioli you wanted at the restaurant but didn't get. It's packed full of lobster flavor both in the ravioli and in the sauce, and it's not actually that hard to make. So enjoy watching and enjoy some local lobster. Start out by steaming your lobsters in a large pot with a steamer basket until bright red. So let's do a color check here. Compare that to that. I think we're pretty close. So that is the color of a done lobster. Move them over. Off. Now let them cool while you make your pasta dough. Alright, Santa's gonna help us make some pasta. We're using 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt. That's going to be mixed together. We are using 3 farm fresh eggs and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. The eggs and the olive oil are going to be combined ahead of time just so that they are uniform. So in pretty much every YouTube video about fresh pasta, they have you making a mound on the counter with a well for the eggs to go into, and I always find that I make a big mess. So instead of using a pie plate, put the flour and salt to the sides, pour your eggs in the middle, and there's really no way the eggs can escape. And then you're just gonna really just stir it around, stirring mostly the eggs, and as it's going around the corner, the eggs are little by little pulling in some of that flour mixture. I really like using farm fresh eggs to make pasta because they the flavor's great, but they give you a nice bright yellow. The yolks of fresh local eggs are going to be way brighter than supermarket eggs. So you want to go around. The idea is for this to be a batter inside. So I pulled in a little too much flour at once, because we're getting some lumps in there. So I need to not pull any more flour for a while until I get this to look smooth again, pretty smooth. What's happening is we're just waking up the gluten. So there, that smoothed out a little bit. So I can start knocking in a little bit more flour, stir it up again. But yeah, you really want this to look like a cake batter at this stage. At the end, it's going to start to look messy, and then as it gets really close to the end, I'm going to have to switch to my hands because the fork won't get it done anymore. Keep going, we're close. And if you screw up this part, that's not terrible. The idea is really just to gradually get the flour involved with the egg mixture. So now it's getting to be almost too thick to do it one-handed. Alright. Our end goal, alright, I'm making a mess. Our end goal is to have this be a dough that's sticky to itself, but nobody else. So in here, it's still sticky. We're just basically trying to knock the flour onto any part that's really wet, and that's how we're gonna add it in. But yeah, you basically just keep going. This part looks messy and painful, but whatever. So keep going. Eventually this is going to turn into less of a effort to combine things, and it's going to turn into more of a kneading thing. And still messy, but the pie plate sort of contains the mess to one area. When I do it on the counter, it's like a torrential mess. Right. So, pretty soon we're gonna get into the kneading phase. We're gonna have all this stuff incorporated. And then kneading is pretty important to pasta dough. Sometimes I've been impatient and just kneaded it for a minute and moved on, and that results in pretty tough pasta, and that's certainly not what you're going for. So you want to knead it for at least 5 whole minutes. It'd be great to knead it for longer, but sometimes my patients can't handle that. But when it gets to this stage and where it's certainly a dough, you want to set your timer and make sure you can make it at least 5 minutes before you give up the ghost there. So I'm going to set that timer now and just keep going like this, pushing the ball into itself. So this is about 2 minutes in, and the ball is actually starting to stick to my pie plate a little bit, so I'm going to give up on the pie plate and just knead it with my hands. If you need to add more flour because it's really sticky, you can, but probably it won't stick too badly to your hands. So 2.5 minutes to go. Alright, so that has been 5 minutes. If you can hang in there for 8 minutes, all the better, but 5 gets it done for me. So you can see it's a sticky ball, but sticking to itself and not to the counter. I am going to cut it in half, form the 2 halves into smaller balls, and then this is another part that you really need to do, is you need to let them rest. So what it is that the gluten that's in there has been activated by the moisture, and we need to give it some time to calm down, or if we tried to roll this right now, it would just keep springing back together like chewing gum. So gonna need to let it rest at least a half hour. An hour would be great. We're gonna go ahead and make the filling for our ravioli now, so we've got time to wait. We'll just set it aside. So, ready to harvest the meat. One of the tricks of this recipe is that we want to get not just the meat, but we want to get some of the liquid that's in here. So we're actually gonna do my cracking of the claws. Woo! And so this water right here is what I am looking for. And so you want to maybe even do it over a bigger bowl. Hold on. We are going to harvest the meat over a bowl because we want more than just the meat. We want the white fat that's in there and some of the liquid. Again, this is lobster fat. You want to hold on to that. A great way to do the tail is to lay them out. Take your impressive knife here, don't cut off your finger, and just slit the cartilage just right down the middle of the tail, and then your tail is going to just open up for you. Woo! And the meat will come right out. You want to clean out back here. That's the exit system for the lobster, so you want to clean out any the black line that's there. You're not going to keep that stuff over there for the meat. But yeah, generally that's the idea of harvesting the meat. So now that we've gotten all of our lobster water and fat harvested, then we want to pour in. Make sure we get about a half cup of that, especially the liquid. So I guess all we got here was about a half cup. That works. And then we're actually going to microwave it till it's hot but not boiling. So now our lobster water is hot. In order to get the flavor out of saffron in order to get maximize the flavor. It needs to soak for a little bit in a hot liquid, which is what we're doing here. Saffron is super expensive, but super powerful. So you want to just crush it up. If you want to use a mortar and pestle or something, go for it, but just crush it up. As much of a powder as you can get it to be would be great. And then, so I just used a pinch. And we're gonna let it sit in our lobster water for about 20 minutes or half an hour while we make our ravioli, and all that flavor is going to start coming out. And it's also gonna give us that classic yellow color. Alright, so now we're gonna make our stuffing for our ravioli. We're gonna use an egg, we're gonna use some cheese, and we're gonna use the lobster meat that we harvested. So as far as the lobster meat, we rinsed it off. I rinsed it off. You didn't do anything. I guess I needn't rinsed it. In case you come across any shells, just be careful. That's not going to be pleasant. You want to chop these up into, it doesn't have to be super tiny. It's nice when you get a big lobster chunk, but at the same time we want it to fit relatively smoothly in the ravioli. So I would say that a good sized chunk like that is too big. That is probably good, these guys. So we chopped up our lobster, add him in. You can add in some black pepper if you like, just to give it a little something. Not a ton. About a half a cup of cheese for a cup of lobster, and an egg. And just mix that around. The egg is just for binding it together, and the cheese is as well. Mostly we want this to taste like lobster. And so you can chill that until you're ready to use it with your ravioli. That's just seasoned salt. And you're done. Okay, so our pasta has officially rested. Doesn't it look rested to you? So you want to get your counter nice and floured up. Keep the flour nearby because you're going to use it a lot. You are now going to, I like to have them in small pieces, so I figure a quarter of the dough you started with is what I'm working with right now. And this is actually going to make a lot of ravioli. So take rolling pin, put your muscles into it. He's still kind of stretchy, you can see. By stretchy I mean like he's springing back a bit, so potentially only let it rest a half hour, maybe resting a little longer would have been a good idea. So I just roll him out till about that, and then I'm just going to set him aside and work on my next guy. And then what's happening to him is he's resting, the gluten's relaxing and sort of getting used to being in that shape. And then when I go after him again, he will roll even further. So we roll him. And this will get nice and big. Our goal is to end up with pasta sheets that are almost not transparent, but you should be able to see your finger through it. So if I put my finger on the other side of this, you can't see it, but we're gonna get it so nice and thin that that'll happen. And then when you cook it, this fresh pasta will swell just like your regular pasta would have, and it will thicken back up a little bit. So in order to get tender pasta, we want to roll it sort of as thin as we can. So we'll trade him for the guy underneath. And now he's sort of used to that shape, so I can ask him to get a little bit bigger. Now if you have a pasta machine, all that is a a big squeezer really, so that makes it, you know, easier, or it's fun to use the machine, but this way we'll get it, you know, about the same results, just a little bit more exercise on you. So when I was talking before about we wanted it to be transparent, a great way to check that would be to just throw the pasta on top of your book, and if you can read it, see the picture, see the seagull, you're good to go. So now that you've got your filling all made and it's set for a little while and you've got some pasta sheets that you're happy with, and then it's time to have some real fun. You'll need a little bit of water, just, you know, a little water to hold on to it, and then just sort of start thinking about how big you want your ravioli to be. This is up to you. If this is your first time doing it, then I would make them bigger, because that will be easier for you. So I sort of cut the pasta into a rough strip. You don't need to worry about neatening up the side just yet. Take out some of your stuffing and just put, you know, 1 ravioli's worth on it. Now if you overstuff the ravioli, you'll have a little bit of a hard time sealing them up. So to start, I'm going to put like that much in. That might be too much. I pretty much always overstuff them. Then before you do anything else, just take your little water and draw the edges. You paint the edges with water. And I'm not cutting this side here because there's really no need to at this point. So then you fold them over. Bye ravioli, have fun. Fold them right over. That side that you didn't cut, press him down first. So you've made an edge without having to cut it. Then press down your other sides. Pressing sides. If you can get air out, that'd be terrific, but sometimes you can't. And now you get to pick about, you know, how you want your ravioli to look. If you want it to have the fork, sometimes people like to have the little fork indentations around the outside. Great, do it. This rough folding method is the easiest way, but it does make your pasta look kind of rustic. You can trim off as much of the pasta as you want around the edges. Too much gets a bit ridiculous, but I like fresh pasta, so I don't trim it all away. If you want to do circles, then go ahead and do circles. Just find some type of cookie cutter or other kitchen device and cut some circles out. Paint them. Just make sure the filling doesn't get all the way into the edge, because then it won't glue together
2 tablespoons
properly.
lemon
So
juice.
We're squeezing. Get in there. Get in there. Cute, huh? All right. Once you have them set, you can put them onto a pie plate with some flour or a cookie sheet with flour. You can see we made some uniform looking ones. We also have our renegade ones from the beginning, but anyway, there's ravioli. Alright, so now that we've made our pasta, we are ready to make our sauce and then get eating. So the sauce is pretty quick, so you can turn on your pasta water, get that boiling. For the sauce, it's pretty simple. We've got 3 cloves of garlic. We've got, remember the lobster water that we had the saffron soaking in? See how it changed color into that bright saffron yellowy orange? So that's going to be cool. We have heavy cream, a little bit of dried tarragon. If you have fresh tarragon, that's fine. Just use more of it. And then some olive oil.
And 2 tablespoons lemon juice.
So for people that like to measure, put in a tablespoon of olive oil into your pan and turn it on to medium-high. And then once it's warm, then we're going to add in our garlic. Cook your garlic for about 30 seconds. You certainly don't want it to get brown, but just the room should all start to smell like garlic, which I like. And now we're just going to dump in that lobster water from before with all that lobster fat in there. And 1/4 teaspoon of tarragon will help it out as well. Just dump that in. And then it goes. We're going to let that simmer down. Go ahead and add in heavy cream. Simmer for 5-10 minutes, and that's just going to give the saffron a little bit more chance to open up its flavor. Tarragon will meld in. Sauce is going to get a little bit thicker, a little, more solidified. And that's it. And our water's going on now. When our water's hot, so figure if we've got 5 more minutes on the sauce, pasta only takes 4 minutes to cook. So we're pretty close to dinner time. Okay, pasta water's hot. Let's just slide your raviolis in. It's okay if the flour goes in with them. It's not a big deal. Get them in there though. I'm relatively gentle with them. Probably too gentle. Now, some recipes say that, the pasta's done when it floats. I find that it floats like maybe from the beginning sometimes, so the timing is 4 minutes. If you're using frozen fresh pasta, then it takes longer, but these should take about 4 minutes. And so we start that. Well, the pasta actually did kind of change consistency. It was sort of doughy before, and now it's a little bit glossy. But 4 minutes, that's it. We're all done. We didn't have anyone explode, which is great. And then I'm just gonna stir in these 4 little pats of butter. It's not that the sauce needs more fat, it's just that's what's gonna give it that silky texture that you want so it'll cling to the noodles. And then slide them in here.
And that's it. You have made from scratch some delicious tasting lobster ravioli in saffron cream sauce. This is a flavor you're not going to get in a restaurant. It's going to be a strong lobster flavor with all that rich creaminess. And so serve it up. Make sure you get a little sauce on top of the ravioli. And if you have some fresh tarragon for a garnish, it makes it all prettier. Thanks for watching.